What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Flame back here with another video. Today we're going to be talking about some big mistakes that you're going to want to try to avoid if you're getting into the trucking industry. Now, some of these are just observations, some of it is speculation on my part, but I just thought I would put my word out there. Don't, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm new too, so I just like to put videos out there for y'all. I hope you guys enjoy the videos. Let's get straight into it. Let's waste no more time. I'm cooking up right now. Air fryer. Right. The number one thing, and by far the most important, is going to be cautiousness slash safety. It sounds cliche, guys, but the safetyness is going to be the most important aspect of your trucking career. This career differentiates vastly from any other because you carry the burden of possibly taking your life, or more than likely somebody else's life. These vehicles, they can usually, the average gross is like 80,000 pounds, so it's a lot of responsibility, and it's a responsibility that has to be held day to day. There can be no days off when it comes to safety. So, and even beyond that, everything is documented, so all you're doing is driving and backing. So any mistake you make, you hit somebody else's equipment, it's going to be documented, and it's ultimately going to affect your ability to get another job, your insurance. So there's just so much, and it's not worth it to even lack for a second. So just stay off your phone, avoid distracted and fatigue driving. They say driving tired is even more dangerous than driving drunk in some instances. So that has to be the number one thing at all times. It sounds cliche, but safety is the most important thing. Just today, or yesterday actually, a driver killed 5 people in Austin, and he was intoxicated apparently, so he's going to be facing probably some heavy charges, maybe even life. I know he got charged with manslaughter, which is just one down for murder. So in situations like that, obviously I hope nobody would be dumb enough to drink. That's insane, and honestly he deserves what he gets. But outside of that, there's a lot of distractions that could potentially harm somebody or yourself. So it has to be the number one thing, and I had to include it. All right, turning the page a little bit, the second thing is going to be not knowing your expenses slash managing your expenses. You might be making $2,000 a week, but if you don't know exactly where that's going, it could disappear like that. You have things to think about, fuel costs, dispatch fees, insurance, all those play into it. So you might be seeing a big gross number, but if you do not have your expenses down to a T, you're not going to be profiting. And also another big thing that I've experienced, especially as a company driver, other company drivers, food is a big one. Like when I first started driving with my mentor, I was spending, this might just be me because I'm kind of fat, I was spending like $300 a week sometimes. I don't know how. I think because every time I stopped, or we stopped at a truck stop, I was like, okay, I gotta grab something to eat. But it had, just little small transactions. Well, not really small. Just like these truck stops aren't cheap. It's like $14 for a meal. But that is something that needs to be considered. I grocery shop now, and I do save a little bit more on average, but not a lot. So food is, what I'm trying to say is, food is something not to be taken lightly. Like you really have to pay attention to your eating habits and your spending habits. So that's going to be the number 2 thing. Guys, had to go freehand. It was getting kind of dark outside. But the next thing is going to be a big one within the trucking industry. You see it on the back of the trailers. You want to see it on the back of the tractors. It's going to be saying no to cheap freight, or taking cheap freight. That's a big no-no for a few reasons. Number one, obviously you're going to be making less money than you should be, and then also it sets the market standard for all other truck drivers. So basically, if you agree to take a load that is running for 55 cents or whatever per mile, or just the outright pay that they give you, and it's not really worth any value, and you take it anyway, you set the market standard. Say if you're getting $800, and they're like, okay, if he's willing to take it for $800, why would they pay $1,600 to another driver if you got these drivers that are willing to take it for $800? And from a business perspective, that makes sense on their part, but it is just not smart. And you see this a lot, like the signs, or just people advocating not taking cheap freight, because it really does affect all other truck drivers as well. Because like I just explained, your decision to take a load for cheap really does affect the market altogether. So if you can say no to cheap freight, there's obviously situations where you feel like you have to run, you may have to run, but you need to develop the discipline to say no, and the skills to negotiate and build those direct relationships. So that's going to be the next thing, is to say no to cheap freight. All right, guys, the next thing is going to be skipping out on maintenance. Now, it may save you a lot of money today. No, actually, no. It may save you some money today by not paying any mind to the oil leak, a small oil leak, but eventually that's going to turn into a blown engine, and you might have some weak tire tread, decide, oh, it's not really worth my time. It's going to turn into a blowout tire eventually, and you're going to be on the side of the road. You're going to have to be paying for a tow. You're going to have to be paying for the replacement. Not only that, you're going to be missing out on money for the loads. All right, guys, the next thing is not learning the business side of trucking. Do not forget, you're just not in a truck just driving. I mean, it does seem like that. I mean, technically you are, but no, it is logistics, and truck driving is the pillar of logistics. I can tie this back to the taking the cheap freight thing. Let's just say that if, you know, if we were to go on like a strike or something, the United States wouldn't move, literally. So there's a lot of power in that, but also, you know, you need to learn the business side, the money side of it. You know, learning these contracts, learning what goes into what. There's a lot to be learned. It's logistics. So, you know, if you're doing yourself a major disservice if you do not understand the business side of trucking. You know, contracts with shippers, there's a lot that goes into it. So if you don't understand that part, there's no way that you'd be successful, especially as an owner operator. So I'm taking my time to learn the dispatching side of it, you know, just everything that goes into it. There's a lot of stuff, but, you know, look into the business side of it. Just like do a quick Google search, you know, what is the logistics of trucking? What do I need to be paying attention to? Because you're doing yourself a very big disservice if you do not. You understand? The next thing, getting towards the bottom of the list, is going to be job hopping too fast. Now, some of you may disagree with me on this one. I've only had one job so far, but I do understand it though. Like, you're in an industry where you're going to be doing the same thing. So why would you do the same thing that you could do over here, but for less money? By that perspective, it does make sense. But also, guys, you have to consider that, you know, if you're going to be chasing these sign-on bonuses and just be hopping from job to job, it is easier to think that the other side, it's greener on the other side. But, you know, some of these companies, they do get better with, you know, having that longevity. You get that, what is the word called? I forgot what it's called. Oh, seniority. You know, seniority. So all I'm saying is, go about your career strategically. You know, don't just be chasing the sign-on bonuses and hearing from your homie that, you know, they're paying more over here, and then you immediately put in your 2 weeks, or a lot of y'all, I'm sure, you don't even put in your 2 weeks, you just quit and go over there. You have to go about it strategically. You know, I drive for Swift. Swift is usually seen as somewhere where you just get your experience and dip. I haven't made that decision quite yet. Well, at least that's what Swift thinks. But yeah, just go about it strategically. You know, get your experience this place and then transfer over there. You know, I've heard that Walmart is kind of like the upper echelons of company driving. So, you know, just don't be job hopping. You know, you got to move with a strategy. That's what I'm saying. That's gonna be the next thing. All right, guys, the next thing is going to be burning yourself out, or allowing yourself to get burned out, and also not taking care of your health. Look, I get it. I try to run as hard as I can too. Obviously, we have to go by a clock, you know, the 10-hour or 11-hour driving schedule. But still, if you're feeling fatigued, don't be afraid to shut it down, man. Your health is so important, especially, I think I've already touched on this in a prior video, but in a industry where you're going to be sitting down all day, you know, not really getting as much activity as you should per day. You have to, you know, eat as good as possible. I know it's not that easy with the truck stops and stuff, but, you know, try to grocery shop when you can, and also try to get some decent rest. You know, sometimes I do run through the night. I enjoy it sometimes, but the next day I just don't feel right. It throws off your circadian rhythm. So definitely prioritize your health as much as you can, and do not drive fatigue. If you start seeing, aliens. You know what they say? Apparently that's a real thing. Like if you get tired enough, you start seeing stuff, you start hallucinating. So that's obviously a big no-no. You know, you're endangering yourself and others, every person you drive past. So avoid doing those type of things. That is going to be the next thing. Trip planning is very important. It's something that I really did underestimate when I first started going OTR. First of all, you do not want to be driving miles that you're not getting paid for. Make sure you have an optimal route, and also make sure that your dispatchers or your trip planners double check the miles, because sometimes they have the mileage going to the zip code but not the actual location. You need to be getting paid going to the location. That could be like a 50 to 100 mile difference. All right, so that's the first thing. You do not want to be, if you're owner operator, you know, spending the extra money on fuel or driving those miles that you're not getting compensated for. The next thing, guys, I can't stress this enough, missing an exit in a 18-wheeler, $75,000 pound truck is a lot more significant than missing an exit with the normal car. Okay, now like 2 weeks ago I missed an exit in Oklahoma. I was pissed, and you know, I couldn't, my GPS was telling me to do a U-turn. Obviously I'm not going to do a U-turn, so I was like, okay, well, I got to make, you know, find somewhere to do 2 lefts or find a open space where I could just turn around and get back on the highway. But I found it, but there was a 13-foot 3 bridge and that I couldn't get under. So obviously, you know, I had to back up. The good thing was it was like 5 a.m. in the morning, so you know, there was nobody there. I was able to kind of just straight back, put my hazards on, and get out of there. But that all goes to say, you really need to have your trip planned. You know, try not to get off route, because it can get tragic real fast. So definitely take that into consideration. That's going to be the next thing. Never mind, y'all, that's not going to be the next thing. That's going to be the last thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I kind of just went through it. I'm tired, getting ready to eat, but I wanted to make sure I'm staying consistent with the uploading. And next time I'll make sure to do it at an adequate time so there's proper lighting and I'm not hurting my shoulder like this. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you check out the previous video talking about how to be successful as an owner operator, how to get rich in the trucking industry. I took that one a lot more serious. I actually did some research. This one I just kind of did, just kind of threw it up. But if you find any good information in this video, got any value out of it, make sure you subscribe, like, and I appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna see you on the next one.